Welcome to part 83 of Was I in a Cult? So I left off in the story where I was talking about how I had confessed to Pastor Hendrick that Monica and I had a kiss, and then he said that he was going to just pray for me, but then he ended up telling the entire ministerial staff. And also, when I went to church one time with Monica, he pulled her aside and just started talking to her. And next thing you know, he's at my car with Monica telling me that we have to talk. That's where I left off in the last episode. So I agree to go have this meeting with Monica and Hendrick, and we go to the sanctuary, multi-purpose room, whatever you want to call it, and we have a little sit down, and Monica's crying and she has her head down, and I'm just like, I'm in shock at this point because I did not ever think that like this would go down. I felt like betrayed, first of all, by Pastor Hendrick, because I went to him in confidence and basically asked for this to be like anonymous, and he had already told the entire ministerial staff, and now he confronted her and she didn't even know that I confessed anything. So like she was just hit with this as well. And like I'm sitting there and more than anything I'm angry at this point. I'm just like, this is freaking ridiculous. Like I'm an adult, I'm a grown ass woman. Like I don't need to be answering to people about what I do in my life. I'm a grown woman. I do what I want, and I shouldn't have to be sat down by some pastor telling me how to live my life. On top of that, I'm also feeling like extreme guilt and shame because I wasn't, proud of what I had done, which wasn't much other than it was a kiss and a cuddle. Like that's basically all that happened, and I can't believe that I was so ashamed and upset about that to the point of where I felt like I had to confess this to someone and ask for forgiveness. But that's where I was spiritually at the time. So as we're sitting there, the first thing that happens is he looks at me and he looks at Monica, and Monica's sitting there with her head down and she's crying, and he says, "Look what you have done to her." As though, like, I attacked her or something. Like, what? Because, like, let me be clear. She kissed me. She kissed me. I was doing my best to not fall into the temptation, and she kissed me. So there was no me, doing this to her. So I was just like, that even made me more angry, especially because instead of being like, we have a situation here, it takes two to tango, you're going to put this on me. And granted, at the time, she was like maybe 21, 22 years old. I was 27. And he looks at me and he's like, "You're older than her. You know better. And, you've been in the church long enough that you should know better than to behave in this manner." So I'm like, okay, this is about blaming me. Okay, whatever. I did what I did, but I'm not the only one that was involved in this situation. So I'm not sure why I'm getting, like this kind of treatment. And, so then she's just like sitting there and he's like, "Do you see her? Do you see what you're doing to her?" And I'm like, I didn't do anything to her. Like, she kissed me, so what is the problem here? Like, I don't think I said that because I didn't want to, like, put it back on her at the time, Like, I didn't know what exactly that I said. To be honest, I don't remember. But I remember telling him, like, this isn't just all my fault. Like, things just happen, and it happened. Like, we didn't plan it. I didn't plan it. Like, it just happened. And he's looking at me like, well, you know what you're doing, and you knew what you were doing by having her, spend the night at your house. And I'm like, dude, that's not even how it went down. Like, because again, clearly, like I stated before, it was because her brother didn't want her to come home, and I wasn't gonna leave her sleeping in the streets with no place to go. Like, I let her stay over because, like, she had no place to go, and I didn't want her to be like worried about where she was gonna sleep that night. And he even took it to the extent where he's like, look at her. She was having thoughts about, ending it all, because of you, basically. And I'm like, oh, now we're really getting crazy, because now you're making it sound like, I'm like, he even mentioned the words like, like that I was kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, like, like I was some kind of like, I don't know, predator or something like that. I don't know. But I was just like, you've got to be freaking kidding me right now. Like, I don't even get what's taking place right now. And I was like, this is crazy. So I literally just sat there and let this man attack me and basically make it like it was all my fault and, this poor victim of my behavior. When in reality, she's the one that came at me and she's the one that kissed me, and I tried to like stop it, and then like even the next day she was still trying to be with me, and I was just like, we can't be doing this, um and then like, she couldn't even speak. Like, I don't even think she spoke that entire time. It was just him addressing me and rebuking me like it's all my fault. So in conclusion, he's like, you guys can't see each other anymore, and you're going to take her home, and you're not going to speak to her anymore, and you guys are going to break contact. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, like, now you're going to trust me to drive her home after this? Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay, just drive her home, but, like, I don't know. In other words, he's like so concerned about, like, I didn't see him trying to get someone else to give her a ride home. If he was so concerned that we were going to fall into sin again, that we weren't allowed to speak to each other from that point forward. So why was he still allowing me to drive her home, which was like 30-40 minutes away? Because at that point, I didn't even want to drive her home, because I was just like, did she make it look like it was all my fault? Like I was the one that did this? And I'm just like, I didn't know what to think. So we walked back to the car. Like, that was the end of the story. And like, I literally can't even explain to you the tension that was in that car. Like, we got in the car, like, we couldn't even speak. We were sitting in this car in silence for 45 minutes, and like nothing was said at all. And I was just like, I felt bad because like I was the one that confessed, and I didn't tell her that I confessed, and like I wanted to apologize for that, because like, this is crazy what's going down right now. And I I was just like, I don't know. And I remember we just like got to her place. She got off the car. She didn't say anything to me. I didn't say anything to her. And that was like the end of our friendship. Except it wasn't, because of course eventually somehow we ended up contacting each other again. And then we like went on a road trip together to my mom's house and took my nephew, and just wanted to get away from the church and everyone, just to clear our heads and kind of like talk to one another about what just happened. And we eventually took our relationship a little farther down the line, and it was still hidden, and we just were both like trying to like avoid the church and the leadership. But that went on for a while too. I don't have time to tell more because I only have 1 minute, but that was the weekend that my mom actually found out that I was gay, because she walked in on us cuddling, and then later on asked me if we were together. My mom was totally cool with it, and she's like, that's really cool, like, I'm glad you're happy. And I'm just like, I'm not happy. It's not right, because I'm in this church and they're teaching me that it's not right, and we're not even supposed to be together, but we love each other and we don't know what to do. My mom's like, leave the church because they can't control you and tell you how to live. And I'm like, yeah, it's not that easy. But I'll tell you more later.